So, where are we today? Back out in the shop. A lot has happened since I last made a video. And not good things. So if you look behind me, what do you see? Why is the hood laying on the floor? Because the cable broke. Are you kidding me? 2,500 pound winch cable broke. Now I know why it broke. It broke on the end where I had to TIG weld a flat washer to the cable to get it, to give it a place to mount to something. So that's the weak point. Yeah, it just totally, just boom, came apart. Now that hood is heavy, and the whole thing smashed on the floor. Okay. And the front gun holder mount that I use for my auger shattered. The base just shattered because it went smash and landed on this. So now this kit costs 20 bucks. I don't have a build fund set aside for this project, so I'm paying for this out of paycheck money, which is very limited supply. I can't just run out and buy another kit. So I have to make that work. So my plan is to take a bolt, get it hot with a torch, and see up the center of there, and use the hot bolt to cut threads into the bottom of this, and then bolt it down. I don't need this to move or twist or do anything fancy like it has the capability to do. I just need it facing in this direction and solid. So I'm gonna make it work. I have to. What other option? Why did I just drop a bolt on the floor when I'm standing 1.5 feet away from the bolt drawer? What the hell is wrong with me? Put things away. God, that was hard. So anyway, I have to fix that now. All right. Scratched up some paint on the rack. The rack is now sitting on the concrete floor, and scratch that up. And there's a lot of touch up I got to do on this thing. When I was trying to mount that engine, I didn't get my holes drilled right. So then when I tried to put the engine mounting plate pads back onto the studs on the tunnel, they didn't line up. They were like 1/16 of an inch off or 1/8 of an inch off. So by that point I was getting tired and hitting the wall, so I got frustrated, took a 5-pound sledgehammer and made it fit. But now I have some touch-up work to do on the paint because I banged some stuff up pretty good. But the engine's in, it's bolted, I'm pretty jacked, it's centered on the machine, and the clutch, or the chain, lines up. The clutch works. I found out the clutch is omnidirectional. And since the seller that sold me the clutch either doesn't know what omnidirectional means, so it didn't provide me an answer to my question, is this clutch omnidirectional, I had to do it the dangerous way. So once I got the engine in the machine, I got it running. As it was sitting there idling, I put welding gloves on, and I grabbed the outer portion of the clutch and tried to stop it. Idling, it stopped. It didn't spin, but the engine kept spinning. So that tells you clutch is not engaged, right? So then I jacked the RPMs up, and I grabbed it again, and it spun in my gloves. I couldn't stop it. So it's omnidirectional. Woot! So that'll work great. I then went to put chain on it. I only need a short piece of chain because the distance is like this. And so I have enough chain laying in the shop for that. So I did that. Put my master link in, got everything tight. I mean, I had like an 1/8 inch deflection in the chain. I thought, man, that's perfect. I thought, all right, here we go. Let's stand alongside the machine because I don't have the controls on the handlebars running yet. Let's stand along the side of the machine and let's just bump the throttle up and see if the machine will roll forward a foot under its own power. It rolled 1 inch. And then I heard ding, 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 ding. And I look, and the chain is skipping on the sprocket. Well, here, The chain box on the machine, the red thing there, it's so hard to point to something because everything's backwards on a video. But that chain box right there, see if I can go up and down. See how long this takes me to figure out. Holy crap. Forget it. That red thing is the chain box drive for the track, and it's adjustable. The top bolts on that unit, right about there, are slotted. So the box moves a little bit like this. So you can loosen those bolts and then boom, and put tension in your belt. Because it normally would have a belt drive. So you can tighten your belt that way. Well, the problem is, it appears like it loosens up. I can't get those bolts tight enough, even though I have lock nuts on them. I can't get them tight enough. So that's going to mean that the chain box is going to move like this, or it can, and it'll take the slack out of the chain. So I'm like, all right, I got to make a chain tensioner. There's a company here in town called Motion Industries. They sell bearings, they sell gears, they sell sprockets, they sell all kinds of stuff, and they also sell this really cool spring-loaded chain tensioner. And it has a little sprocket gear on it, like this, okay? And there's a little bar that sticks up with a heavy-duty spring in it, and it's all you can do to push it down. And that mounts underneath the chain, or on top of it, depending on whatever setup your machine is, and it applies downforce on this little sprocket, and always keeps your chain tight no matter if your chain drive components are tightening or loosening or tightening or loosening it. Since it's spring loaded, that tensioner will always, kind of like a belt tensioner on a car or truck. It always keeps that stuff tight no matter how much flex you get, whatever. I'm like, that's a ticket. You know? So I call them up. I'm like, I need one of these and I need one now. Oh, the nearest one we got is in Chicago. It'll be here Monday. I'm like, yeah, but I'm working out in the shop this weekend. I need it now. Well, we can get it here Monday for you. How much is it? $108. I'm like, nope. Too rich for my blood. So I decided I'm going to have to make one. So I went to Fleet Farm. I found this. I'm getting rid of this tag. Hold on. Found this idler sprocket, right? Perfect. So I run a 1/2-inch bolt. This is a little long. Through it like this, okay? I weld the head of the bolt to a piece of this material, or I'll drill. Look at this, look how perfect this is. I'll drill a hole in this, and the head of the bolt, oh no, maybe not. Well, if I tighten it up, it will. We'll slide right into that slot and lock it in place. Acts like a lock nut. Okay, like this. And then I'll make a base that this, I'll make another piece. Hold on. I'll make another piece. I'll drill a series of holes in this bar. Bing, 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 down the line, separated by about a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch apart. And then there'll be another one of these plates that bolts to the back side. Now I can raise or lower this sprocket 1/2 inch increment at a time and lock it in place. And then this will spin on the bolt, and voila, adjustable chain tensioner. It's not spring loaded. Granted, it'll be there all the time, but hopefully that will get what I want. Otherwise, I really have to sit down at the drawing board and try to make a spring-loaded unit so that it's on an arm or something and it's able to provide constant tension. I have some spring steel here, some plates from like a leaf spring that I could use and mount and make a tensioner out of that. So that's plan B if I need to, if this plan doesn't work. So that's one of the missions for today, is to build that, to get the chain tensioner installed so that I can actually run this machine under its own power. Now, there's a company that I was trying to deal with to get cables, brake and throttle cables, and I want them custom made, all right? I could buy cables off of Amazon. Here's a funny story. I could buy, because Tim texted me yesterday with quite the calamity. So, it's kind of a case of what not to do. So anyway, I could buy cables on Amazon right now, 100-inch cables that would reach my throttle lever and would reach my brake lever on right there on the brake drum. Okay, I could do it, but then I'm going to have big, long, whippy loops in my cable that I'm going to have to zip tie, and a big, long cable. It's going to look like a cheap Kmart, Walmart mountain bike with big, long brake cables on it, right? Well, if I went to all the effort to make this thing look as good as it does, in my opinion, actually in everybody's opinion, they all love it, I want custom cables. I want it to be like a chopper, like a custom chopper, where the cables are nice and tight to the arms. You don't have cables whipping all over the place and hanging out. So I contacted a company out in California. I sent them an email. They were recommended to me by Jimmy, my friend that owns 365 Power Sports up in Merrill. Contacted them, sent them an email, told them what I was doing, that I knew I want some custom cables made. Yeah, it's going to cost. These are nice looking cables, okay? Whatever ends you want on them, if you want a bent end, which I want for the brakes. Yeah, nice cables, right? High quality stuff. They never replied. Yeah, sent an email, nothing. So I already have a sour taste in my mouth. But here's Tim's story, okay? So he sends me a text yesterday, and he goes, yeah, the funniest thing happened to me today. I'm like, okay, all right. He goes, he calls his machine Snow Puppy, the Snow Puppy. I thought we named it the Snow Bitch, but apparently he wants it to be Snow Puppy. Okay, fine. So I went and watched the Snow Puppy yesterday, or the other day, and because remember, it was just a filthy, greasy mess, so I'm assuming you took it to the pressure washer to make it look pretty. So he goes, yeah, I went to start it up today, and apparently my throttle cable froze. So the thing was wide open throttle, and when I started it, it took off down the driveway full throttle, which is about 20 miles an hour, so you can't really run after it. And yeah, all you could do was stand there and watch and see where it went. So apparently it hit a snowbank, which slowed it down, which then caused it to jump out on the road, and then it flipped over on its side. And then he was able to run up and shut it off. I'm like, oh, so you still haven't installed a lanyard kill switch yet? He goes, nope. He said it was rather comical, but man, if it would have been this thing doing that, it wouldn't have been funny. So, note to self, I'm going to be getting a lanyard kill switch. Yeah, it's going to clip to me so that if I get thrown to the machine, off the machine, it will kill the engine and the thing won't just keep running. Although mine, with high quality cables, now that's the point about high quality cables, high quality cables are usually sealed really well on the ends so water and moisture can't get in there so they don't freeze. Not only that, the inside of the cable sheathing is Teflon. The cable itself is high grade stainless steel, so they don't have a tendency to freeze up. So spend a little bit more for the cables, because the cables are your lifeline to making sure that the machine works and getting you off and on the lake, and also safety so that you don't get a runaway situation like he had. So yeah, the last thing I want is to be 2-3 miles out on a huge lake to go ice fishing, and at the end of the day, when it's like 6 below and I now want to go home, my throttle cables are froze up and I can't drive the machine, and I got to sit there with a lighter and try to heat up the cable and thaw it out. No, I'm gonna spend money on cables because that's the key. So yeah, so he had that little experience, but I guess I'm gonna have to call this company and jack them a new one and say, hey, what the hell. So anyway, so the mission today, should I choose to accept it, and I do, is to fix this hood. So what I'm going to do is get rid of this cable, and I'm going to sacrifice an old ratchet strap because I've never had a ratchet strap break yet, unless it's been cut. It's rubbing on a sharp edge and it gets cut and compromised. Then it'll break. But I have a bunch of old ratchet straps around here, so I'm going to sacrifice one of those ratchet straps, and I'm going to put an actual strap. Now the strap will have, if I use the heavier duty cotton kind, it'll actually have some stretch in it. So when I open the hood, even though I have a spring tension, can you even see it? Yeah, there it is. Right there. See that? That's a spring. Like on a snowmobile hood, to take the doing out of the cable, so when you open your hood, it's not a solid, it just puts some cushion in there. The ratchet strap will do the same thing. So I'm going to fabricate a strap for a hood retaining strap, and I'm going to build this tensioner. And since I don't have the cables, what I'm thinking about doing is finding some paracord and just running paracord from the brake lever up to the handlebars, and running a cord from the throttle up to the handlebars, and then finding, I scrapped out old lawnmowers and stuff, and I snip off the rewinds and stuff, and I have that little T-handle, that you use to pull. Find a couple of those laying around here somewhere, and just use those as my brake and throttle for now, just so I can take the thing out and try it, until I get the cables in. Otherwise, this thing will never see snow this year. I got no snow left in my backyard. The only snow I'm seeing is up north. The ice is still good. I could take it out on a lake somewhere. But, I want to run it once before I have to stuff it in storage. So, that's what I'm going to do today. That's the mission. I'll let you know what happens. Stick around.